today's video is all about my Monstera Peru. Now I've had this guy for a while, I've done a couple of videos on it, but in all honesty, it's been a little bit neglected. It's been some time, it's growing like crazy. I've actually had a couple of issues in terms of caring for this plant, but today in this video, I wanted to share with you all of the crucial care tips that I have kind of discovered in taking care of this beautiful, beloved plant, how it differs from caring from your typical Monstera, and just how beautiful the Monstera Peru is, as well as I'm going to be repotting it. This thing has grown probably, I want to say maybe 5, 6, 7 feet long, so it's definitely time to get staked and repotted. So if you're into all of that, plus of course a little bit more, then stay tuned. So I want to jump right into this repot so we can get to those crucial care tips and so that you can see what this looks once it's all nicely potted up. I'm going to be using this container right here. It has a built-in saucer and great drainage. There's a nice large drainage hole at the base of this container. And let me put this aside and show you what exactly I'll be using as ingredients and components for the soil mix for my Monstera Peru. So I'm going to be going ahead and using these 3 principal ingredients for the makeup of the soil composition for my Monstera Peru. There's about 1 part pine bark, 1 part perlite, and 1 part of this peat moss coco coir mix. So all in all, it's about equal parts with the peat moss and coco coir being together 1 part, but individually basically a half part. And at the end of the day, you really want a soil composition and a soil mix that is really light, airy, well draining, and this should work just perfect for my Monstera Peru. So before going ahead and adding my soil mix and mixing it all together and adding it to a container, I did go ahead and add some horticultural charcoal to the base of the container. Now this is a great thing, a great tip, and something that I really like and enjoy doing, and I think my plants appreciate it as well. And basically the reason behind it is you're providing basically a little bit of a barrier between the base of the container and the root system for the plant, and this really helps with drainage and absorbing any excess moisture at the base of the container. So I'm going to leave that at the base, mix this up, and add this. Because I will be adding a stake, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I generally like to add them afterwards. I feel like I just get better stability out of the stake, and I'll be doing that in this case as well. So let me just go ahead, quickly mix this together and add some of this mix to my container before adding the Monstera Peru. Now, if this feels like you have a little bit more perlite than you would think, that's okay. I really do recommend using 1 part perlite. So it does look a little bit heavy, but like I said, it's going to keep things nice, light, and airy, which is great for this houseplant. Thanks for checking out this video. I'm Tyler. If you like what you're seeing or you find this video to be useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, or better yet, you can hit that subscribe button. Now, to really show me some love, click on the bell for alerts and notifications for future content. Oh yeah, don't forget to check out my merch page, tylermossop.com. So basically just kind of detangling the Monstera Peru, I had used some twist ties and some bamboo stakes. So I just need to carefully remove all of that from this plant so that I can carefully remove it from this container and get it potted up in its new home. I really haven't done much to this in some time, so it's probably a good thing I'm getting to it now. And like I said, I did have a couple of issues in and around light and water, and I'm going to touch on those very carefully and critically when it comes to explaining the crucial care tips. So you'll have to stay tuned for that. And all right, so this is detached from the current stake. And now basically I'm just gonna actually use this piece of bamboo to kind of loosen up the edges. I got an extra little bowl here so that I just don't make the biggest mess. And I'm just gonna kind of very carefully remove this plant from this container. And we'll take a look at the roots and see what those look like. All right, oh, there we go. All right, so let's get rid of that. This aside. All right, guys, so roots are looking definitely okay. I'm sure if this isn't probably the best, most close-up view, but fairly small root ball and some moisture retention in there. So I think with adding that horticultural charcoal to the base of this container, that's just gonna help with that as well. So let's get rid of this and we can start organizing ourselves. Sorry. All right, let's get a little bit more of this in here. Very carefully. And I'm just gonna set this aside to the front of the container so that I have space to put in that stake. But let me go ahead and kind of backfill this all in nicely. I'm gonna mix up some more of that soil composition, soil mix to fill in all of the gaps before grabbing the stake. Be right back. So the soil composition and the soil mix, I did create a little bit more and filled up the container very carefully. Now, as I mentioned, the roots for my Monstera Peru are closer to one side. I am going to be using this very tall 5-foot cedar stake. Luckily, I have tall ceilings and I can do this, but just be conscientious of that as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and very carefully this into the container. All right, so pretty good stability. Never hurts to just kind of press in and around. And I guess I could add a little bit more, but I always like to leave about 1/2 inch gap between the top of the soil and the container. So when you do water it, there's no kind of overflow. And with that nice and secure, I'm going to grab some of my Velcro plant tape stuff that I love to use and very carefully just attach my Monstera Peru to the stake so that I can get some maturity in the leaves and just it's going to be much happier in this new container at home. So let me go grab that and I will be right back again. It shouldn't take much of this Velcro tape to kind of get this Monstera Peru nice and upright. Just definitely want to be gentle and careful and not damage any of the leaves or break any of the stems. Now this thing is totally intertwined. What am I trying to do here? So yeah, definitely be careful. Let's see. Let's start with that. All right. You guys will be able to get a much better idea of how tall this thing is once I manage to figure this out. Pull this through actually. Very carefully. Much better. Okay, there we go. So there's still, I think, a knot in this actually, believe it or not, somehow. So I will need to very carefully pull it through one more time. I'm not sure if you guys are interested in seeing that, so I will be back once I've untangled this mess. Okay, so that might have been more complicated than a Rubik's Cube, but I did manage to kind of untangle this. And I think because I had kind of neglected it and kept it, you know, a little bit tangled, I do have some portions that don't have very many leaves on it. And I think that's just a function of me not staking it sooner. So I am gonna go ahead and just very carefully get this connected. All right. I don't even think this is going to be big enough, but we're going to do our best. Now I could always propagate part of this as well. Now that I'm realizing it's a little bit leggy, but more from, all right, let's carefully, all right. All right, definitely appropriate to have this huge 5-foot stake. Okay, this is kind of a mess. So I think I'm gonna go see if I can find some more Velcro and just kind of do a little bit of a better job attaching this up, but I think you guys get the idea. So let me just wrap this up and I'll be right back with those crucial care tips, and I can explain kind of those issues that I was having with watering and light. So in terms of crucial care tips, if you're going to care for your Monstera Peru like you would your Swiss cheese plant or your sort of typical Monstera plant, then it's going to go all wrong. These are actually quite different in terms of care, and I think that's kind of where I had gone wrong. So first and foremost, when you are watering something, it is a function of obviously the other conditions, how much light it's receiving, and all that jazz. Now, these plants actually do require a lot less water than your typical Monstera, so that was a big lesson for me in terms of caring for this plant. If you overwater it, you will see yellowing of the leaves, and that's probably why I am a little bit lacking in terms of the quantity of leaves on this particular plant, although it's obviously doing quite well, growing and getting much taller, vining away like crazy. So it is important to just kind of pull back on the water and water it less than you think it actually needs, because it's very sensitive to water. In terms of light, bright indirect light is best. Again, these won't do well in any sort of direct light. Even like a north-facing window, which I know sounds crazy, will be great for a plant like this. So again, just comparing it or thinking of some of the other Monstera-like plants that we have, very different. So a lot less water required, less bright indirect light is required. So nothing like harsh afternoon light or whatnot. These do require regular fertilization. A well-balanced liquid diluted fertilizer will be great in the growing season. And another really important key thing to think about when it comes to the Monstera Peru is humidity. The more humidity, the better. I think the ideal kind of range in terms of humidity for these plants is anywhere from 60 upwards. If you can find some sort of location where it's getting up to 85%, which is kind of insane, but 60, 70% humidity is really ideal. And with those conditions, you should get a really great, happy Monstera Peru. I think the biggest thing is just really kind of thinking about frequency of watering, and just, the more you kind of forget to water it, the better. These really, and actually it has in part to do with the leaves. If you just kind of very carefully touch the leaves, they have like a thicker kind of, almost like a succulent texture and thickness to them, and I think that's because they are able to kind of retain some moisture and water, and that's in part why they need watering less. But that really kind of sums up the crucial care tips for this plant. So definitely leave a comment below if you have questions or if you've had any issues caring for your Monstera Peru. I absolutely love mine, but definitely leave a comment down below. Well, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely leave a comment down below. Give this video a thumbs up. And if you aren't already subscribed to my channel, definitely hit that subscribe button. And yeah, miss you already. Until the next one.